Welcome back to another episode of The Hunt. Today is episode 40, which sounds like it's a lot. But we are here today with the whole entire crew. We've got Benny Roberts and we've got Jared Leonard. Benny, start with you. How you going, mate? All right?
Good, mate. Yourself?
Not too bad, not too bad. And Jared, how are you?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm very good, very good. So we'll get straight into it. Obviously, you can read the title of the video, but Benny is going to verbally explain what we're going to talk about today. So, mate, what are you kicking us off with?
So basically just going to outline the topic. So what we're going to talk about is the physical requirements and consequences of your sport. And obviously we're going to stick to powerlifting more specifically as our examples, but a lot of the themes that we're going to discuss here are quite applicable to like other sports in their own right. You would just have to change like your actual approaches when you're looking at it. But basically, the idea behind this came from a couple of examples between like myself, Aiden, and a few of our athletes that we've seen in the gym who have just been experiencing like the typical consequences of training SBD. Yep. And I think that as an athlete, it's really, really important to be aware of the consequences that you are going to face by repeating these physical qualities that are required like over and over and over again. And basically like, you know, just how you're going to encounter pain and discomfort like physically and emotionally, and how you're going to be able to put practices in so that you can overcome it or create some more preparedness so that you are ready for the positions that are required, basically.
Yeah, I think a big part of it is just like understanding the specificity and the demands of the sport.
Yep.
Like there's a reason why marathon runners all look the same. They're skinny as all fuck, and usually they're, you know, they look like they run for a long time, you know. And then you got like people who sprint. Obviously, they're going to be a little bit more like anaerobic looking, a bit more jacked because they're only doing a short distance of running. And they need to be, I guess, explosive in their own right by producing more force of larger tissues.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think it comes with the caveat of any sport you do. The more you can, I guess, adopt those specific positions, the better you will be.
Yeah.
But, yeah, did you want to dive into, I guess, like some examples that you've come across so the listeners can understand where you're coming from?
Yeah, definitely. So it's kind of like we quickly just touched on it when you kind of get into different sports and then obviously powerlifting, barbell and strength sports. And I think the biggest point of difference that you can obviously see here is that the best thing about this topic within the space of like barbell and strength sports is that everything we do is like so predictable.
100%.
Typically you move in a certain way that's like repeatable every single day. It's very regimented. You know exactly what you're doing every single day to prepare the day before for the day following, that kind of thing. Whereas then when you go into like more dynamic sports, like for instance, you know, environmental based, like, you know, there's a big difference between hurting yourself because of how you move under a 200 kilo barbell as opposed to playing in like NRL or NFL and getting a 250 pound fucking player. Bloke just run you down. Yeah. Because, you know, there's control and then there's chaos, right? And it's just understanding those qualities and how you can prepare for yourself so that you are more resilient, I suppose, when things do go wrong. More specific to powerlifting, I think the first thing you can really look at is like your technique and execution across the lifts and what that is going to entail when you start to load it up. So just making sure that like there is a baseline of, you know, technique that is going to be relatively safe so that when you do load up, you're not going to absolutely like hurt yourself, blow your shit out. And then, yeah, just understanding from there how good or bad you are at adopting positions and what that's going to look like if, you know, you continue to train in that specific, like, you know, position and quality all the time. So like an example from my perspective, over the last, I'd say 2 blocks, my bench has been shooting up really heavily. Like my intensity threshold has gone up because I've got stronger. And because I am such a like vertical rib cage kind of bench presser, I get on my neck really heavily. I've adopted more of like a shoulders, like back and down style of benching. So my scaps become really like retracted and depressed. And then when I'm in that position under a lot of load, I haven't experienced this until last week when I hit my final week, like heaviest loading of the week after already hitting 3 high exposure singles. And I went under for a 2.5 kilo PR at 152.5 kilos. Unfortunately missed, but I held it off the chest for a couple of seconds. And in the moment and during that session, I felt nothing. Like I had no pain or anything like that. But leading into the next couple of days, I started to experience some like major lockup of my like mid back, like low trap kind of area. Felt very compressed through like my T-spine. Yep. And then I came in on Monday and squatted and experienced like some nerve pain and things like that. And it honestly, like I just got into dog mode because I'm in prep and I was like, fuck it, I'm going to squat anyway. I don't give a fuck. But I did definitely experience like some pain and discomfort that I feel like would have put a lot of people off if they were not as aware of what had happened as to why they're experiencing this pain. Hence, like why I think it's really important for athletes to have some accountability around like understanding the consequences of those positions, right?
So accountability and education.
Yeah, exactly, right. And that comes down to the coach and everything. But I think that you can really, put your foot forward as an athlete to really strive to understand, why things are happening to your body so that you can, make educated decisions moving forward.
Yeah.
And I think using my example, I obviously just explained the scenario, but given some discussions with my coach, Dave, and obviously like me having quite a deep understanding of like how my body moves and the position that I was in and like was forced in by the bar, specifically when I missed that like bench just off the chest. What I believe has happened and what Dave believes has happened is that when I was pushing in that position, that amount of weight just forced me into like a super extended T-spine, like posteriorly expanded rib cage position. And my scaps just got shoved down into a fuck ton of depression. And then from there, the back of my rib cage and T-spine was just super closed off. And because I had no exposure to any exercises that pulled them the other way, that was meaningful. I had light deadlifts on Saturday, but it didn't help. That also influences some depression as well. So like, it's not the antagonizing movement that I needed. And obviously I didn't know the severity of like what the position was doing to my body until I squatted. But after some small, back and forth between Dave and I, my pain started getting like pretty significant then. And it was constant, like, laying down, standing up, all of that. We just started to explore like what had happened in my training that could have caused this to happen. And yeah, basically, as I said, it was that heavy bench shoved me back and down. And then we did some corrective exercise to be able to like free up that space, just create some more elevation. I also believed as soon as I hit my primary deadlift on Tuesday, it would have helped me just because I felt like I really needed to get into like a protracted reaching like position and more of a flex, like posterior expanded kind of rib cage spine position. As soon as I did all of that, it felt way better. Did more elevation things after deadlift just because, as I said, kind of influences that downward scap movement.
Yeah.
And then from there, it's just improved dramatically. And to think that, I probably could have gone in on Monday and just gone, holy fuck, I'm not training. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because...
what a lot of people who haven't been through something like that would do.
Yeah, exactly. Because, like, you don't have the awareness or I suppose, like, education around understanding that, like, positions that your body gets shoved into can just cause you pain when there's not necessarily any damage there. No. And I think like differentiating that is really important. Yeah. So that's a specific example from me, but I see it all the time when, you get people, especially like beginners and intermediates, they kind of come in and they're starting to adopt like some shape change principles in their programming. They're starting to move their spine and body in ways that they haven't ever before. And the biggest thing when your body starts like, being exposed to different ranges, specifically when it's like loaded, is that it's going to just go, whoa, you need to calm down. Yeah. All right. So the biggest one I always see is rib cage pain all the time. Yeah. When people just start deadlifting with a more like, reaching kind of position, trying to get their ribs back, no one really in everyday life or in the gym before powerlifting has probably loaded up their rib cage and back like that before. Even though it's a safe and, effective way to deadlift or to do like a Zercher squat or something, their body hasn't done it. So as soon as you start loading up, the body's like, whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah. So it takes a back seat and then, they just need to be reminded or they need to understand that it's like you're not hurt. No. You know what I mean? It's just your body's like knee-jerk reflex is telling you to calm down. So that's my 2 cents on it. But I know you've gone through something pretty similar, I suppose, but more to like the more to the significant end of the
Extreme.
spectrum.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that'd be a good bounce off of it.
Yeah, I want to cast it back a bit because I think the way that I'm understanding it, and one of the viewers can understand as well, especially if like you're a newer lifter and you're learning more about powerlifting, is that powerlifting is actually like an adolescent to older style of sport that you participate in from like a teenage age to late 20s. Like that's the window, right? If you want to start powerlifting, you get these people that come into rugby, soccer, tennis, golf, whatever it may be. Usually you're exposed to it from about the age of 6 years old, right? And like you're playing competitively and you're involved in those like field track, court-based sports from such a young age. So therefore you're equipped to the skills and the technique, I guess like the outcome a lot more effectively than what you are with say 6-year-old powerlifters, because there's no such thing. So when you actually start powerlifting from such a young age, like you do go through a lot of these like teething processes where like the rib cage, as you said, it exposes itself to axial loading for the very first time, and it's learning how to retract, expand, laterally expand, like like learning how to move in positions that it's never moved before. You see all the time where like NRL, NFL players like tear their hamstrings because it's such a sagittal plane sport going forward and back, where they could actually, if they're in their own strength training, do some frontal plane movement to experience like other variability, like that could actually like prevent injury as well. So it goes without saying that powerlifting should be similarly treated the same, right? So if you're someone who gets jacked up from bench pressing, right, and you need to experience other ends of range of motion, so like you can actually get on with squatting and deadlifting and have no impact to your bench, then it's important to understand that it should be treated exactly the same as any other sport in the world.
Yeah, and that's why the principles like still align. And I think I just want to touch on just quickly what you said about, you know, people being in it from like a young age and obviously understanding the outcomes of their sport, specifically on like the toll it'll take on your body. And I think the other thing is that because powerlifting and like strength sport, barbell sports are still quite niche, I think that people aren't as like open to the very real possibilities and repercussions that are there. So, you know, like, you know what I mean? Like you get absolutely pumped in footy, you're winded on the ground, you feel like the world's closing in on you, and your footy coach will stand over and say, "Get up, sweetheart." You know what I mean? Like, whereas like you can't do that to someone in the weight room because they have no idea what is going on. They think they've broken their rib.
And everyone's prior experience to powerlifting is usually like, okay, you trained because it was part of your prior sport. Like for example, if you're a rower or if you're a rugby player, like obviously you should be in the gym training, right? Because it's going to supplement so much more of like your on-field performance. But the thing is that the value and the weight of that weight training session is not going to outweigh a game, you know, or a race, you know what I mean? So I think when training is the entire thing, like that's where like you need to look more specifically into, okay, these are the risks that I'm looking at from an adaptation standpoint, like morphologically, like what's going to change about my body and how am I going to respond to that?
Yeah. And even like you can strip it even further back and talk about like the equipment that we use and stuff. Like specifically when people are getting used to wearing their 13 mil SBD belt for the first time and their ribs are screaming, they're getting pinched skin and all that. They're like, I don't want to do this. This is ridiculous. But it's like, I have a 14-year-old client named Olive. I was talking to her yesterday about, oh yeah, you would have gone through like a fair bit, you know, like doing figure skating. She did it for like a decade. She's like, yeah, like, you know, my figure skating boots, like, you know, they were like, they'd kill her, like, you know, blisters everywhere, all that type of shit. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, you know, same way with like marathon runners, like their shirt, like, you know, ripping up their nipples and shit like that. It's like, you know, that's just part of it.
It is.
It's just part of it.
Growing, I remember my fucking hands were like bleeding, and like I do this thing when I have like strapping tape, and you know the width of like a strapping tape. I'd put a slit down the middle of it and put my finger through it, slide it down so it would cover my blisters so I could keep rowing. So like there's so many things that like come with any sport.
Literally.
And there's risks that you take, but like it's about how you respond to it, I guess. But I guess like from my standpoint, like from that more extreme end that you touched on earlier, like there's bodies that change as in from a very early stage right through until you're advanced. And there will be sweet periods of training where you don't feel anything and you're just indestructible. Usually it's A, when you start, B, probably halfway through the middle, and then C, once you start lifting some like, you know, relative to your body weight, like quite heavy load. And your body just has to be in certain positions to allow that outcome to happen. It's why we have specialists in subtotal, specialists in bench, specialists in deadlifts, right? So what I experience from more of a advanced level is because I'm more built for deadlifting, being the long range of motion through, the short range of motion through having longer arms and having quite a like kyphotic T-spine, allows me to pick up the bar like across a very small distance.
Yeah.
So because I have that small range of motion, my body is not experiencing the full range of motion it needs to be quote unquote healthy. So I'll wedge into a sumo deadlift position, and generally speaking, what happens to the person who has like a normal range of motion is that their femurs would internally rotate to create force to push into the floor to pick the barbell up. But because I get my hips so close to the bar and I am so upright, the moment and leverage that my hips have to internally rotate is very, very small. So I was more so stuck in this like abducted, externally rotated position. Yeah, I may be like pressing a bit of midfoot through my feet, but my femurs aren't actually rotating very much because I'm already relatively extended through the hip off the floor because I am so upright. So when you compound that across how many sets, how many reps,
the amount of tonnage that goes through your body specifically
in that position was just getting overloaded and overloaded. So what ended up happening is like my body just got quote unquote stuck, similar to how you got stuck through this like back and down position, and you just feel like you can't fucking move.
I'm stuck.
I know. So what ended up happening was like I would go to squat, and although the micro layout wasn't helpful because I was squatting directly the day after my deadlift, I ended up squatting exactly the same way as I was deadlifting. So I was struggling to find
Squatted
that
340.
I was struggling to find that like internal rotation through my hips. I was struggling to like actually like tuck my pelvis, flex my lower back, retract my ribs in a way that's supposed to be retracted under a squat bar. It was all very hard for me to do these things, but like my leg strength was still strong. It just got to a point where my back just decided to I can't do this anymore because I'm taking too much of the brunt load.
Yep.
My legs needed to be more involved. So that's where I had to rejig the program, had to take fucking 3 months off. And this is the thing, chronic injuries are worse than acute injuries.
Yep.
Yours was more so acute.
Oh, 100%.
Mine was
that
chronic.
one specifically acute as fuck.
Yeah.
We're over it in a few days.
Yeah, mine was like over the
disrupt
course
me at all.
of like 2 years maybe.
Yep.
Like when I really started to ramp up my deadlift volumes, I was like, fuck, I'm good at this. I can like do more.
Yep.
That was when my body started changing. So it took me 3 months to comfortably get back under the bar to deadlift or squat.
Yep.
To reteach my ingrained system how to actually move how it should under a bar. So yeah, I think me in the present moment, we didn't really figure that out until maybe like the last month before I returned back to squatting and deadlifting. It was more so like, oh, your hamstrings, like they're holding too much in regards to external rotation of your femurs. Like, let's loosen off the hamstrings. Yeah, it contributed to it, but it wasn't like the base compensation as to why the hamstrings were tight. It was because my movement limitations weren't good. It was because I was too good at deadlifting. That's why it took away from everything else.
Yep.
So yeah, it's important for me as an athlete to identify that, and I'm too deep into my career to like not step away from it. Like I love this sport. I get so much out of it. I'm getting more out of it now that I'm past it and I can see the light into the tunnel than what I was beforehand. You know what I mean? Like it makes me appreciate my training.
Such a good feeling.
Yeah,
course,
so much better.
And I think like, you know, you talking about it from like that advanced standpoint, obviously like a very significant like roadblock in your powerlifting career, so to speak.
Yeah.
I think as well, like, you know, your awareness of this now, like that is, you know, we talk about it as a coach all the time. You have a tool in your toolbox, but that's as an athlete, you have that tool in your toolbox now. You understand your body more specifically, so you can understand that, oh, okay, like if this is kind of starting to happen to me, then I can already like pump the brakes and go in the other direction in terms of like movement variability, so that you don't go through that again.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
This is why I think like it's so important as athletes, like you are educated and you are able to understand exactly like what's going on with the program. Like I sat down and had like an hour call with Steve about it, and together we use both our brains because we're both good coaches and we're both good athletes, and we are able to come and combine it, both our worlds, to create the end product of what I believe will be, and what he believes will work well to not A, re-injure myself, but B, get all the qualities that I need to not, you know, like plateau again. So that was really, really good.
And that's when the magic happens.
It is.
The collaboration.
Yeah.
Because it's like the thing that you have to understand as an athlete is that, like, and this is going to sound crazy, but no one is ever going to be as invested in your training as you are. Like, your coach is going to love you and love your training and everything, but he has 30, 40, 50 other people on his roster too that he has to take care of, you know? And he cares about them all the same. You know what I mean? It's like you are the only person that's in your body that's going to care so much about specifically everything that's going on.
Yeah.
You're the only person that's going to be there through every single moment of your journey. Yeah. And you're, therefore, like by nature, you're going to be the one who cares about it the most. Yeah. You know what I mean? So just understanding that and understanding that if you take accountability on that, then you should know the most about your body based on the experience level that you have from through years of having, you know, different coaches, different injuries, different preventative measures and things like that. So, yeah. And then like taking what you said, obviously back to like an intermediate, like kind of, you know, beginner scenario as well. When people can understand that they perform best when their body is able to maintain or create certain positions, they can then just like use based on feel. Okay, cool. Like I just sat down in the car for 8 hours traveling today. Like I got primary deads. I don't want to fold my back in half because I've been sitting down all day. I'm going to go and do some like, you know, really extended RDLs or 45s or something. And, you know, like, or I just did like a really heavy pull 2 days ago. I feel really rounded through my upper back and I've got heavy bench today. I'm going to go do some, you know, wide grip rows and stuff like that.
Just went down to Mayweather bars and got a tan and now I'm fucking dehydrated and I didn't think about it before I start my heavy session.
Yeah, well, I did think about it and now I've got my electrolytes in me and I'm good.
Well, no, you can be that prepared.
No, but yeah, so just like I think understanding what's going on, understanding and being more accountable so that you can take matters into your own hands, because you are going to get to the point where it's like, you know, there will be a time potentially where, you know, you can't get an instantaneous response off your coach and you need to take matters into your own hands because you need to be
autonomous.
You know? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's just another level of all of that. So,
well, in saying that, I was going to ask Jared a question. I was going to ask, like, if you are an athlete and you are like the one that cares the most about your program, like, I guess what are some things that like you should be really, really in tune about when it comes to like providing feedback to your coach, you know what I mean? Because the coach, half the time, if you don't send your videos or you don't feel like your program, like he's just running blind most of the time, you know what I mean? So like communication is the biggest thing, but like how do you kind of like make sure that you're keeping your best interests at heart as a lifter and making sure your coach is on the same page?
Yeah, I think it's number one, obviously so important just communicate with your coach, right? Like that's how you can get the most out of the service. But I think it's also good at times, like if you are feeling like that as an athlete, I think it's good to ask your coach what like the expectations are communication wise, you know?
And any good coach will always say, well, what do you want?
Yeah.
You know
see,
I mean?
There you go. That too. Yeah.
So, so in that case, like if pretend I'm a client of yours and I say, oh, maybe like once a week, like, is that all right? What do you say as a coach?
Once a week as in communication?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'll tell them that you'll get more out of this if you communicate with me on a much more frequently basis. And tell them that you want to hear from them on a much more frequently basis.
And also, if you just want to do 1 week of communication, you best believe you better be filling out your program, sending all your videos. You know what I mean? Like there's got to be more like quote unquote quantitative data that's being sent across than the like context, you know?
I was really about to say context is huge as well. Like not just like when you are communicating with your coach, not just sending them videos with the set and RPE and that's it. Like
I hate that. Talani, I hate you, mate. Come on.
The context is literally everything.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like you could be having the worst week of your life and all of a sudden like you've had this expectation from yourself and your coach to have the best week 5 of all week, like final week of all time. And it's just like all of a sudden everything has gone in the bin and you don't mention that. And you know, sometimes it is the coach's responsibility to probe as to why that happened. But sometimes, you know, there are scenarios where it can slide through and then all of a sudden, like, you know, the program's changing because of a reason that it shouldn't, you know what I mean?
Fucking Ainsley, I got a really good example, right?
Bro, the way you said that is crazy. Fuck.
No, but this is a really good example because like Ainsley, like she's been going through like a lot. She had a relative pass away. She's had a wedding on the same week. She's had to travel to Narromine and Dubbo. Like this has all happened within like the last week. Like so many things have happened.
Wow.
Yeah, massive.
But like the thing is like I was looking at a bench micro and it's kind of like doing this, and I'm just thinking to myself, why is it doing that? Like we just made a change so it would do this. It would go the other way. And then she remembered and she told me, she was like, because I was doing it more so like, okay, I think training performance is dipping right now because you have so many things on. And then I'm explaining this to her, and then she goes, "Oh, I forgot to mention, like, the week before I did that Wednesday, which is a second primary day, before I did that like 2 count pause single, I actually had the day off the day before, and I was like,
Well, there you go.
well, there you fucking go. That's why it turned up then. Here I go, putting your Tuesday bench and your Wednesday bench as Friday and Saturday, thinking I'm going to get the same result because I was like, wow, that Wednesday popped the fuck off.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But she just didn't contextually tell me that she actually took that day off because it was so late when she knocked off work that she couldn't train, and she just moved straight into a Wednesday. So that vital piece of information just literally wasted an entire block of training where it's like, okay, I wrote this thing based off like what the program told me, but you didn't tell me exactly like what's going on.
Yeah,
And I felt really bad because I was like, I thought I made a really good like decision changing your bench micro, but now we're a month out. And now you're telling me exactly why that session popped off, because she's kind of sitting there thinking like, yeah, why is my training so bad? Like, it should be going really well because Aiden explained it to me and it makes sense. And then she realized, she was like, fuck, like I actually took a day off. And I pretty much just like tapered my bench.
Yeah, literally. And like, you know, I was actually like listening to a pod that had Marcellus on it the other week. And basically he said this line where it was like, you know, it's really important as a coach that you essentially make your athlete like so comfortable that they could tell you anything that goes on in their life.
Yeah, it's
because
huge.
it could impact everything. And, you know, like creating that like relationship where it feels so open that they could tell you that, like, you know, they've had a horrible week because of, you know, like family drama, or, you know, that they missed a session because it was too tired, and they don't want to like disappoint you, but they know that you're not going to be mad because they're being honest, like, you know, stuff like that. And just making sure that, you know, you can create that type of environment for them to open up.
Yeah, I've had these experiences where it's kind of like, as a coach, if an athlete kind of isn't playing their part, the best thing you can do is just continually over deliver and just make sure that like you are there for them. And then even if they're just leaving you on scene, or even if like, you know, they're not necessarily acknowledging like your messages, like as long as you're just doing your part,
As long
like,
as they can see,
and they can see that you're contributing to the relationship, then they should be able to turn around and come back. Because I've definitely had my fair share through my career, like with handling with those sort of clients. But
100%.
yeah, that was really fucking good. Do you have any more to touch on that at all? I think the crux of it is, if you want to like make sure that you are going to last long in this sport and have a successful career, you just have to understand like the outcomes of the sport and the toll it will take on your body.
Yeah,
like
100%.
There's always going to be this dichotomy between, do I favor my performance or do I favor my health more? And I think like anybody in the sport, no matter who you are, you're going to experience some sort of niggle, injury, pain, or discomfort.
I reckon that's probably the last thing to touch on is like, you know, their high performance sport pain-free is a myth.
Yeah.
It does not exist.
So hard.
It doesn't exist. Like, you might have a really good run where your body feels amazing, but you training qualities over and over and over and over again is going to have some kind of like drawback somewhere. Like, you're not going to be an incredible power lifter and have the flexibility of a gymnast. That's just not happening. Like, you know, you're not going to be able to probably, you know, run like, you know, a half marathon and prep for a comp at the same time and have good outcomes in both, or stay injury free rather. There's always drawbacks, and it's like, you know, it's like the yin and the yang. There's always some good and there's always some bad, and just understanding that, and understanding that even though you might have a good run or anything, as soon as you do start like overloading your body and getting really good, I don't want to say the risk increases, but everyone has a good run until they don't. And you just got to understand
pretty much.
Look at Taylor Atwood.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he totaled, I think still the highest total was 840.
I think Perk beat it.
Perk beat it, I'm pretty sure. But anyway,
The cunt's fallen off, you know what I mean? But like, that's the thing, like there's going to be highs and lows, and like you'll see it over the course of maybe the next like 5 years, where the people who are at the top right now here in Australia, like they won't be there in 4 or 5 years time, because unfortunately the sport breaks you, but you got to work with it.
It's like anything, man. Like, it's like any sport, you know, people have their careers, and then like, you know, they get to an age where it's like, man, I'm just getting fucking beat up all the time. Like, you know what I mean? You don't see 40-year-old footy players running around. Like, you know what I mean?
It's and then that's when they move up a weight class, or like they pull back their training a little bit and focus on other qualities, and all suddenly they've like healed themselves, and then they can tackle it again.
Yep.
It's all fucking, it's a cycle.
It's a roller coaster, mate.
Roller coaster.
That's it.
All right, we're gonna do some properly rated, underrated, overrated. We'll be back in about
Best part, everyone's favorite part.
back in about
Let's go.
back in about 1 second. See
Here
you
we
soon.
go.
All right, we're back. So I'm gonna start, then we're gonna go to Jared, and then we're gonna go to Benny because he has vouched that he has the best one yet.
So he reckons.
And as I say that, I've forgotten mine. Give me. Okay, yeah, I got it. All right, properly rated, underrated, overrated. Taking time off after competing. 3, 2, 1.
Overrated.
Ooh.
Wait, what did you say?
No, I overrated as well.
Oh, right.
But I was expecting you to say
Overrated.
underrated. I was expecting you to say like, yeah, probably rated.
What?
Yeah, I'm
No
sorry,
way,
my bad.
bro.
You know,
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
never
No
taken
way.
time off after competing.
Oh, good boy.
Neither.
Thanks, mate.
Well, I think so. I'll go through my
You go.
thing. It's very quick. I think it's overrated because like, fucking, it feels so shit
Yeah.
coming back, and you literally just waste time coming back if you do intend to compete again. Like that's
Literally.
just flat out how it is.
You know,
Benny?
my opinion is that it's fucking dangerous, bro.
Oh, bro,
It
the amount of
is
times
fucking dangerous.
that
If you-
people take time off, they come back and they fucking hurt themselves.
Yeah.
Bro, literally, like it's, bro, you just, like this whole fucking podcast, the whole thing we just spoke about, right? You go and put the most demanding fucking day through your body and then go,
Yeah, I'm gonna
you know,
take
you
2
know
weeks
everything
off.
I did for preparedness for this? Fuck that.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I'm not doing that.
The fuck thing is like you
And
put
then
like a 12-week prep in or something, and it could be gone like in a week.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
literally.
It's fucking.
Dude, it's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But like literally, bro, like you just picked up the heaviest weight you have off the floor of all time. Your back is busted.
fucking rearrange your
You
guts.
literally, bro, you rearrange your guts proper, and then you just like, you know what? Fuck the back extensions, bro. I'm going to Fiji,
Fuck.
bro. Yeah.
Like I was talking to Lucy about this up in Queensland, and she was like, "Bro, like it's been like 3 blocks, and I still feel like shit."
Yeah,
bro.
Just like
dude.
just regaining that momentum.
Also, yeah, just like and
That's the thing. It takes
like
time.
knowing as like, yeah, I think as well, like knowing that, yeah, okay, like you can take a step back, but just don't do nothing. Like,
Yeah.
bro, like if you want to take a step back for like mental ease, and then also like, I don't know, just to like for enjoyment in your social life and stuff like that, easy
Easy as.
instead
Yeah.
of doing 6 or 5 or
Just
4
don't
days a
stop,
week,
yeah.
do 2 or 3 days a week. Just for like 2-3 weeks, and then you'll come back. You feel so much better. You probably won't have lost as much, like, you know, of your base, because creating adaptation and maintaining adaptation is like very different. Like you don't have to do as much as what you did in your peak to be your strongest, to just maintain around what you had and then just build it from there. Like, so that's my perspective.
Cake, what do you got for us, mate?
I 110% agree with exactly what Benny said. But also, I find every comp I've ever done, I'm like way more fired up. Like that Monday after competing, like the Saturday, the Monday, I'm like, fuck, I'm ready to go.
Oh,
like,
bro.
but in saying that, I've also like never felt super satisfied with a comp I've done yet.
I feel
Really?
that. I feel that,
I think
bro.
fucking anyone is, mate.
Bro, I had this discussion the other day, because I was talking to Tess about, I was like, oh, like, you know, she came back from Canada and everything, and she was like, oh yeah, you know, like, did you you know, did you enjoy your comp? Like, what did you think of it and everything? And she was like, she basically said, like, you know, I'm happy, but I'm not satisfied with the day,
It's
essentially.
always
And
the
I just
case.
said, you know, I've done multiple comps, and I don't think I've ever walked away from one comp and said, I achieved what I wanted to today.
Yeah.
Like,
Neither.
hasn't happened.
I've never gone 9 for 9.
Really?
So I think-
I've gone 9 for 9, but every time I've gone into a comp, I've always had a goal total in mind.
Yeah.
And then I fell like 20 kilos shy of it.
I think when you get to the level where you're competing for placings, that's when you kind of feel like there's something to win.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I think Jacob, for example, like I think he PR'd
yeah.
his total by 2.5 kilos at Commonwealths, and he came 3rd overall.
Podium.
Bro,
Yep.
bro
But the
got a
thing,
medal.
the
Who gives
bloke
a fuck?
looked so far past the total for once in his life, and I'm like, fuck yeah, you get it.
good.
You
Yeah.
you get comp day like powerlifting that you get like
Yeah.
winning. You know what I mean? Like,
Bro.
it doesn't matter what you hit in the gym. Like, as long as you beat the people around you, like
literally.
you'll be so happy. And he is. And so he's coming back with a new frame of mind. Like, okay,
That's so good.
I want to place as high as I can at nationals next year, so I can go to worlds, so I can go to regionals, whatever it may be.
Good on him.
That's
Shifting it to like competing, not
Yeah.
numbers.
Numbers.
Like,
Yeah.
bro,
No.
so much better.
Fucking hate numbers.
So fuck numbers, bro.
Jared,
Yes.
what's your properly rated, underrated, overrated, mate?
All right. Properly rated, underrated, overrated. Coordinating your comp day fit.
Oh,
Oh, fuck.
all right.
Are
Are we going? Are you doing the 3, 2, 1?
Yeah. 3, 2, 1.
Underrated.
Overrated.
I'm saying properly.
I said properly.
I said
Did you?
under.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
facts.
bro.
We know why.
Yeah.
I-
Gotta be dripped
So
out.
like, I bought that 2019 summer edition
Oh, yeah.
SBD, and like that's gonna go with nothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I was thinking, fuck, it'd be pretty funny if I wore that with like a black HPC shirt underneath and like my Australian representative fucking socks. Like I would look
colours
fucked.
everywhere.
Yeah, it's just everything's
Yeah.
going on. You know?
Yeah.
But like,
That's sick.
I find it really hard to look past the black on black. But like, I think all it comes down to is like, if it makes you feel like you can perform better, it makes you
Yes.
feel more comfortable.
That's what I'm getting.
Confidence
Yeah,
and
yeah.
comfortability.
and then
that a
fucking,
word?
That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah, let's make it a word. Yep.
Yeah, there you go.
No, absolutely. That's it. Gotta look
Yeah.
good. Look
And
good,
same
look
reason, Jared. you
Exactly the same reason. Yeah,
cool.
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Sure.
You and your
What about-
fucking, you got fucking different pair of SBD wrist wraps for each fucking lift.
Bro, what about what about the weigh-in? What about the weigh-in fit? What do you think about that? Like what you wear to like weigh-ins?
I've had to cut weight every time, so I
Naked.
don't get the fucking
Bro,
pick
can't. I wore the most grim outfit to
for
First Nations, bro. Yeah, I like
would-
my brain was shot because I just had 40 minutes in the bath and I was like, oh my god, weigh-ins is in 10 minutes.
Did I
So,
weigh you in at that comp?
I think maybe. Yeah, but I
trying
can't
to
remember.
remember the fit, but I
bro.
can't remember.
Oh, dude, it was horror. I hopped out of the bath, didn't have time to shower or anything, forgot all my gear.
And then you had to go back.
Threw on my HPC trackies and jumper and just like stole some Ugg boots that were hanging around the house, banging it like 180 down
Banging
the
it.
highway. I was like, oh, I got to get there by 7. And then like I realized I was in like the later flight. I was like, bro. So then I had to sit there for like 40 minutes.
In basking in your
I
sweat.
tell you
bro,
what, I've
not
seen
good.
some pretty grim weigh-in fits.
Yeah.
Bit of holes in the undies.
Holes in the undies even. That's
No
nuts.
joke, mate.
Bro.
Couldn't be me.
All right, the one we've been waiting for, Benny.
Okay.
Here we go.
Fucking, let me just see
so-
who the fuck's playing music.
Magnolia in the car park.
Oh.
There she is.
There you go. All right, sorry, Benny.
Alrighty. So my one is social media engagement for success in coaching.
Oh,
Engagement as in...
Like your social media presence or engagement for your success as a coach.
yeah, I'm ready.
Like your
I'm ready.
stats, right?
No,
Yeah, like your stats are like
Shares,
your reach.
saves.
Yeah, that's
everything.
what I
yeah,
meant.
yeah,
Sorry.
engagement.
Yeah.
Right.
3, 2, 1.
Overrated.
Properly rated.
Overrated as fuck.
Ooh.
I know a shit ton of successful
I-
coaches that have very small reach.
Bro, I was going to say overrated as well, but I'm on the fence with properly rated with Jared, and I'll explain after you guys
Yeah.
go. But
So my take is, like, I firsthand know a lot of coaches who don't have many followers, like, but they have a full roster, you know what I mean? And their clients love them, they adore them, they're happy to be there, you know what I mean? And I think that's the biggest part is that if you're a coach, the number one thing you can provide is client satisfaction. Right?
Yep.
And it's a transaction between like they pay you to deliver a product. If you can make them happy, sweet. As for like presence on social media, as I turn down this fucking speakers, the biggest thing is like you can just post all the time just to like feed the algorithm of whatever Instagram is. But the main thing to understand is that like, for fuck's sake, wait up, I'll cut this bit out. Okay. Yeah. Elaine.
She's on it. Yeah, she's got it.
I literally saw her walk back as you turned it down. I was like, fuck.
That's funny.
The HPC ghost turned it down. All right.
So as for like social media engagement, I think the main thing is like if you're a coach that just continuously puts out content every single day and you're just trying to feed the Instagram algorithm, the thing is that you're not picking up like reliable quality leads. Like you're going to maybe get, a lot of leads, but they're not going to stick around for a very long time because they constantly feed off that consumeristic, is that a word? That consumeristic instinct where they're always looking for more new information. And I've had those clients before because I was that guy posting all the time where like you just, I've taken time away from the marketing like push as in regards to posting every day and posting content, no matter how bad or good it is. Now I've got all these leads and they're all paying me money. Great. But the thing is that they're still looking and consuming everyone else's shit on Instagram or Facebook or YouTube or whatever, and they're still questioning, hey, what do you think about this? And like it may be something you disagree with. But if you disagree with it, but that person explains it in a way that they should agree with, then you've just lost the buy-in from that client.
Yeah.
So I think you don't need to have a huge amount of engagement or social media presence to be a successful coach. I think what really comes down to it is that you have this core group of clients who you're satisfying and they love you for that. And then B, the stuff that you're posting truly resonates with the type of client that you want to coach. And it may not be like how to build 30% of muscle in a month's time. Like it may not be like how to add 50 kilos to your bench in 6 months. Like it may not be like that, like gravitating, like, you know, glamorous looking content, but it will resonate eventually with the client that you want to work with. And then if you're doing that consistently over time, then you'll build a roster that like truly loves you and respects you.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. Right, Jay?
Yeah. No, I actually agree. To be honest, I just said properly rated because I was so on the fence, eh?
No, you're saying properly rated because you just became a coach and you're like,
there you go.
I want to be that guy.
Yeah.
Well,
And I get that. I get that.
I don't want to be the guy who posts every single day.
No.
God,
But
no.
that's the thing though.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to pressure your content, right, to just be out there because it's like, oh fuck, finally.
I don't want to put content out for the sake of it, right?
But that's the thing though. Like you did a fantastic job for the team. You made that social media calendar for all of us to post.
Yeah.
And I agree, we should put all our content in there. But like, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to post it. It's just
it's
me
ideas.
like writing it down. Okay, it's out of my head. I can put that there.
Yep.
If I want to like be inspired or look for something, I can go back to it later.
Yeah,
but I'm not going to like, you know, force myself to post something that like I'm going to be thinking that I don't really believe in this. I'm just kind of doing it because I want to fucking be on everyone's story.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's like a tool to capitalize on when sometimes the time is right.
Yeah.
I feel like it depends on like the market that you're going for as well. I feel like with a face-to-face kind of gym, it's more so like word of mouth, people that are in here engaging with like the local community where you can. Whereas if you're solely online, it is much more reliant on that.
Yeah.
And
the funny thing is, and like you touched on your market, like whenever I did like an internship or a mentorship, the lecturer or presenter or whoever it may be, the educator, they would always say, you need to know who your market is. You need to know who your ideal client is. And I would never fucking be able to figure that out because like I had such a broad spectrum of clients at the time. And I was just like, I've got like good people, as in like good lifters. I got bad lifters. I got people who like have been doing this for like a year, 5 years, plateauing, making great progress. Like the spectrum is huge. And it wasn't until I figured out the type of clients that I want to work with, therefore you gave me the drive to be like, okay, I get kicks out of coaching these types of people.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean? Therefore that helps you direct your content.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like just like you kind of touched on it before, just being authentic is the biggest thing because man, like I feel like the people who I love coaching the most, and this goes for like my entire roster even, is just like people who I'm like literally friends with as a byproduct of then coaching them. Like because we just get on so well, man. Like, you know what I mean? We get to have a joke like every day. Like, you know what I mean? I've been laughing so hard in the gym this past week, bro, just because I'm just shooting the shit with like all of my clients and we're just having a good time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's
it's like,
so good.
that's when it just becomes like, it's so much more than just like, you know, telling someone to do like a 4x5 with, you know, a 10% low drop.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it's like so much more than that.
Yeah, and like I invited fucking pretty much half my gym to my 30th.
Yeah.
Because it's literally that. Like
Yeah.
the ideal client is someone who wants to be my friend.
100%.
Like that's literally it.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to be my friend, then like you're going to respect the fact that I have your best interests at heart because I'm your friend and I'm also your coach. But also like what you're going to give back to me are all those like athlete responsibilities that we have to have.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's a fucking good one.
Two-way street.
Two-way street, man.
Yeah. I love having a laugh.
Did you
with
say
Steve.
overrated?
I
you on the
said
fence?
I was on the fence because like there's a couple of perspectives to go about, I suppose. Another thing that I kind of thought of, right, is I think that especially being like, you know, Jared, for instance, like starting out, like, you know, getting into it and like potentially seeing like all these people who are posting and they have like, you know, 8, 10, 20K followers or something. They're posting like every couple of days, like they're getting heaps of engagement and stuff. But realistically, like the powerlifting circle and community specifically is so small. Like it's not that you get like big and well known online. It's like the time that you put into engaging in the community in real life is what reflects what happens on social media.
Yeah, I agree.
Because you meet people at meets, you're volunteering at meets, like, you know, you go into international meets and you just like, you know, just having a laugh or like, you know, having a conversation about training and stuff with all these people. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you're fucking, you know, your following's going up like all of this, you know what I mean?
So me going to Worlds, like when before, I think it was like June, I had like maybe 6,000 followers. Now I nearly have 7,000 and I've posted maybe like fucking 4 times.
Yeah.
And all of it's like announcing my athletes competing at Worlds, Comms, or like Oceanas. You know what I mean? Like it's never me posting very like, I guess, in-depth content unless I feel like it. You know what I mean? But like exactly that point. The more people that I've met resulted in more followers.
Yeah. And so it's kind of like, it's like social media is a reflection of like the real life coaching, not the other way around.
100%.
You know what I mean? It's not like social media dictates your coaching. It's your coaching dictates your social media.
Exactly right. And then like if you're an athlete, like a good athlete, and you're looking for a good coach, and you've been to the point where you've educated yourself around like what good training is or what good coaching is, you can very easily read a profile on Instagram and know that like I want to be coached by that guy, or like, nah, this is all like regurgitated junk that like was so, I guess, like year one when I was an athlete. Like I can look past that and be like, no, I want to look at the person who actually posts content like very individualized, very specific around programming, technique, or whatever it may be. So important.
Yep.
Fuck yeah, that's a good topic, Benny. Well done, mate.
Yeah, cool.
Best for last.
Let's go.
Pop off, Benny.
All right, we'll leave it there. Next week, episode 41. I don't know what we'll talk about, but we'll figure it out during the week. We appreciate your time. Thank you for the ratings. We've got 25-star ratings. Fucking unreal.
So good.
So if you can keep rating us, that would be great. If you can subscribe to the YouTube channel, that will also help us out a lot. And we'll see you next time.
See you guys.
See you.
Thank you.